aware that land is a multi-purpose asset. We are not only looking for land for government utilities or the public good. And that's why I would like to appeal upstream. Let us not spend a lot of our energy discussing just the legal reforms without looking at the upstream challenges of planning. Why, for example, I'm going to pose questions. Why, for example, in the last 12 years, when we had got the Vision 2040, in the NDP 1 and 2, we knew that we required a pipeline, that time the turmoil Libyan offer, from Jinja to Kampala. We required a transmission from Bujagali to Kawanda. We required a standard gauge rail. We required another express highway to Jinja. Why didn't we consolidate these projects into one integrated multi-sectoral corridor, as opposed to have 7 parallel acquisitions, all taking government money, all causing inconvenience to the other sectors? The area of planning, the area of fiscal planning is very, and I want to recommend that when we made the Country Planning Act, as amended the Fiscal Planning Act 2010, that was the time to present the National Fiscal Plan. The Vision 2040 talks of cities. We need to take a decision now. Are we going to continue the way we are, or we are going to have some cities? Now, if you have a city model, a city knows where an industrial park will be, where these corridors will be. So the debate we are actually having is crisis management. And to avoid it getting into a quagmire, I'm also a mover of the cities model and regional government, where Fort Portal, Arua, Moroto, Mbale, Jinja, Gulu, and Imbarara should be fast-tracked as cities, including my Hoima, not because I'm chairman of Nyoro Parliamentary Caucus, but because it is strategic for oil and gas industry to have these cities. If you had the city model as per the Country Planning Act 2010, the whole country is a planning area. So where does this redundancy come about to keep discussing the challenge of this road? Now, who is this in urban authorities who approves a development plan in a government intention
you're throwing
of a
those
corridor?
questions back to us.
Yes.
On this panel, you and Naomi occupy the privileged position. She works for government. 12 years ago, I want to imagine you're in that parliament. And these crises you're telling us, and that's the bigger question, because you have multiple laws discussing the same issues, tackling them from different corners. And you do not have one comprehensive outlook. You have the Land Acquisition Act since 1965. You have the Land Act of 1998. You have multiple proposals. You have the constitutional provision. From where you sit, why do we keep stumbling in this crisis management, as you call it? I put a question to you. You said this is a land grab. And I was hoping that you're going to build your point on the land grab and account for why the laws don't align to deal with the land grabbers, not a crisis that doesn't exist.
I am an advocate of national dialogue. And one of the areas I would want us to dialogue on is actually the land crisis. We need to discuss the land question. First of all...
What do we need to discuss about that land crisis?
Yes.
What is the issue?
The 1995 Constitution, which depleted the radical title the state had in their mean 1975 decree, was populist. It was informed by politics and not economics. Anybody who is interested in the progressive land reforms would know most of the world is not developing on ownership rights. It's about exclusive rights. Okay. You can have lease rights for 99 years and you develop a city. But we chose for political expedience to go to give back land to the people. And now we have found a roadblock. We have found a roadblock because we are trying to compare cheaper costs of infrastructure projects in Ethiopia, but the radical title belongs to the state.
Thank you.
Ethiopia. And that's the question, the debate which is upstream and not downstream.
Thank you. Let me bring in the other panelists to this discussion. I think that actually takes us to the crux of the matter. The 1975 land decree, like the 1995 constitution, was as populist, in my view, because it was trying to deal with something. I think the 1975 decree was to deal with the landed who are becoming a problem government. So you take all the land. Now, if you come with these, and I want Peter Majella to respond to this, do you actually end up solving the problem? Because from Professor Mamdani's keynote presentation, the intention of the colonialists in negotiating and appropriating land to themselves and to a few people, the subsequent actions have been guided less by economics but more by politics. And we're dealing with the same political question today rather than the economics and the infrastructure development question.
Thank you, Charles. Before I answer your question, I want to make one interesting observation. Here we are this morning discussing the draft land acquisition bill. I don't know anyone has seen it. We are basically speculating. We had government officials, they came and told us what is in the bill, but they cannot stand and give us the copy. And that's where land speculation and all the politics begin. They begin by making us speculators. So we are not so sure whether what they told us is actually what's in the bill. And as a lawyer, I can tell you the problem is always in the detail. And so the politics of it is, and with due respect to the organizers, the politics of it is that we've organized a national dialogue to discuss the land acquisition bill, but we actually don't know what the bill is about. We've been told it says something about it, but we are not so sure. And so, right from, I wanted to differ from Professor Mamdani's, he begins at 1900, but the actual problems begins, I think, in 1887, with the acquisition of land for the Uganda Railway. That was the first time the Muzungu comes here and grabs land. He acquires land for a railway. And if you see the correspondence is there, the correspondence was more like, these Africans really don't have anything. Let's put up a railway and exploit as much as we can. It goes into 1900 agreement, 10 years later. It also goes into the Busulu and Vujo laws. And then, if I was to skip the years there, and I come to Amini's time, Amini wants to stay in power. And what a better way than telling Ugandans that we are all equal when it comes to land. It happens. 1980-something, Museveni is in the bush. He meets the Kabaka of Uganda and he tells him, you see, if Baganda supported me to achieve this objective of going to power, I'll give you back your land. They give them back the land. If you look at it, the interesting bit is 1993, we have a commission of inquiry, the constitutional commission. In that very year, one of the terms for that commission was to bring back kingdoms, whether Ugandans want to bring back kingdoms. In that very year, they amended the 1967 constitution and also made the Restoration of Traditional Rulers Act at the same time that Ugandans are being consulted whether they need this, and restored the kingdoms. So you are being consulted whether you need these kingdoms and the land and all that, but the things are being restored. So I don't know if the kingdom, the restoration of the kingdom really, or whether the recommendations from the commission had anything. Fast forward, there is a commission of inquiry into land. One of the terms of one of the terms of reference is whether the land acquisition, how the land acquisition should be handled. We have a bill we are discussing. We don't have recommendations from the commission. I don't know how long it's going to take the commission to come up with a recommendation. It's all about politics. It's all about, let's show we are working without necessarily working. And so we go into this, everyone is, it's a popular move. It's a move that everyone is happy about, but without necessarily giving it to them. So 1995, government makes a move, allows to lose its right to land, but keeps behaving as if they have the right to land. If you look at the 1995 constitution, government gave away the powers it had over land to citizens. Then government comes and says, no, if I want this land for public development, you citizen, your rights are less. And that's the very reason we challenged the act in the Constitutional Court, which ended in the Supreme Court. Now, government...
So in Article 26, government says land belongs to the citizens of this country and vests in the citizens.
Yes.
In 237, it says it can take the land back.
And in practice, what do? When they see they need land, first of all, you won't know if they need yours or the neighbors, because it will be the same way we don't have this bill. So you will be speculating, maybe they need the neighbors. Then someone who knows will come and buy the one that they need, and he will put the price very high up in the sky. Then government will come and acquire from that someone who knows.
Peter, can I cut in there?
Yeah.
You're reading from the book of Lamentations.
Yes.
Yes. And we are not finding a way forward, because this is where we are. The history we know, Professor Mamdan told us a bit of it. It's been debated all over. You saw Peter Mulira there. He will go everywhere where there is a land discussion because of the sensitivity. You listen to the MP here talk about the issues of land. How do we move from where we are to where we want to go? And where is that going to?
I think the first step, let's stop this culture of secrecy. Let's share these documents. Let's make it public. We are discussing land acquisition. So let's know what's in the bill. Let's know which areas are going to be taken and which ones are not.
Thank you.
Let's make it public. Second,
yes.
let us, you see, when you read through the documents the ministry has produced, the government valuer is never wrong. If you read the justification for constitutional amendment, it has pictures with caption, Mukono Road still hanging because just one landowner went to court. And I'm like, okay, this one landowner, maybe he has a point. Don't just say just one landowner went to court. Let's be open. The other thing, I like the proposals like the tribunal. And the question I had is, we have a tribunal, and you're proposing to have a tribunal to handle these matters. This person probably will have to look for the tribunal and handle it. We've had 20, 30 years of the land tribunal failing to work. Probably we are creating another one. I don't know how this one will work compared to the fact that the other land tribunal didn't. But why don't we use the existing courts, go there, give them a timeline, say handle this matter within maybe 30 days, and it should be handled. It has worked with the election petitions. Once we do that, let's not create an unnecessary tribunal. They proposed about the appeals. You'll appeal to the tribunal, and maybe the High Court is given a certain limit. What happens to the third appeal? Now, second appeal. Because what if I'm not happy with the decision from the High Court? I'll have to appeal to the Court of Appeal. So what happens? The Court of Appeal might also take 3 years. Still, we need to deal with that.